See if there's anybody there. 38 seconds. Nobody's there.
It's not 6 o'clock yet.
That's 4 minutes too.
Did you just hear something?
Yeah, yesterday started out almost right from the get-go. Kathy was spreading the clips out, and the guy come up and bought a clip right off the bat. And ammo and magazines. You would not believe how much, well, $1,200 worth of ammo and magazines. Couple of knives, but nothing great on the knives. And I got so picked over. So I got 3 minutes. 3. We're liable not to have anybody tonight here. It's this bunch right here. It's all new. And, I got a good one for you. When we get to, I think there's one about Pelosi in there. Something about Pelosi in there. I've got a good little joke for you.
This one?
Yeah.
I saw a meme on the internet today about Pelosi, and apparently she's a notorious drinker.
Mm-hmm.
How did it go? The guys posted, am I the only one that thinks that Nancy Pelosi got drunk and lost the articles of impeachment?
It's entirely possible. Actually, I think she's has too much rice in her diet and is constipated. Remember to guide your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Yeah, we are sorry. We did not realize that we were infringing on some patents last night, or not last night, last week. So we got 1 minute to go, and it's time to start. Right now, oh, we got 2 watchers. We got 2 watchers. 2.
One of which is me.
One of them you. It'll start now that we're getting ready to go live. The reason we don't have any music tonight, for those of you that are listening, gotta turn the radio down. We infringed on a bunch of copyrights from the list of music that I was playing from. So that means I now have to go back and find the other list that Mike had. Probably do that sometime this week. So anyway, no music, but I snuck more to you. And so that means we have to go back and start all over on figuring how to bring the music up. So if you folks will bear with us as you have been so far, we will keep slugging away to try and get things worked out. Mr. T won't be with us because he's come down with some sort of belly flu. Bones won't be with us because he has come down with some sort of a belly virus or whatever it is you want to call it. Scotty ate too much, but he's here. And I do have to report on the gun show. Very, very interesting fact. First of all, I did rather well, which is a good indication for the next 3 or 4 months.
Where was this gun show?
Down at Yankee Lake.
Yankee Lake. That's not the one over in Ohio, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's over in Ohio. I did about $1,200 in business. I am not going to say what I sold, But I'll tell you what I did see going out the doors, something I have not seen in a long good time, was cases of MREs. Okay, there was a dealer down there that had cases of MREs, and I have not seen them going. I have not seen them going out the door, you know, that for a long time. What I saw, the number that I saw was about 15 or 20 cases. That's that I could count. But that, with it being as busy, does not necessarily mean that there wasn't more that went out there. That's just what I saw. So, Braveheart to you, Scott. Great, Scott. Not to be confused with Medicare, Scott.
Mediocre.
Mediocre, Scott.
You.
Mediocre. Okay. I need new glasses. That's a fact. I gotta.
And perhaps learning how to spell might help. Just saying.
Hey,
I don't know.
I'm 71 years old and made it this far. I don't even know how to spell.
Yeah,
If
true.
you can't spell my way, hell with you. And besides, it's phonetic.
Phonetic.
Anyhow, back to the show. I saw quite a few black guns being carried around. Some of them looked like they had been just bought. Some looked like somebody was, carrying a few to sell. So, but anyway, that's basically what was going. Ammo was going out the door too. Yeah, and that from everything that I tell, I did notice. Excuse me. There were a couple people there that seemed to be either from West Virginia or knew somebody down in West Virginia, and they seemed to be the ones that were carrying out some of the MREs. I don't know if things are getting ready to pop down there like a great big zit down in Virginia, but they should be. So, be that as it may, let's get on with the listing of the gun shows that are coming up. This is an update. Since I was at the show there and I was picking up flyers I got a couple new ones that I haven't done before, so just bear with me on them. January the 25th and 26th. It's the last weekend of January. The County Lake Sportsman's Club, 1186-1 Sportsman's Road. That's off of Route 18, County Lake, PA. Again, that's January 25th and 26th. Then February the 1st and 2nd, you have the show that I'm putting on at Chapmanville, at the Chapmanville Fire Hall. Route 27, Chapmanville. It's approximately 20 miles from Meadville and 7 miles from Taylorsville. So you get on you get on Route 27 from Meadville, and if you end up in Taylorsville, you went too far. Turn around and come back. Well, the attendance at the gun show was pretty good both days. Okay, let's
How was
see.
the food? That's the important thing.
Oh, they had some terrific food. They had chicken fingers, and they had subs, and they had cheeseburgers and hamburgers and hot dogs and chili and cheese dogs and a bunch of other stuff.
Some of the best chili I've ever had have been at gun shows. For
Yeah.
Everybody has that special knack.
Yeah. So, picked up a seed. So, also in February, the 8th and 9th, Legion Gun Show at the Minerva Community Building, 123 Brock Avenue, Minerva, Ohio. Now, I haven't looked that up to see where it's at. It's a small table. It's about 50 to 75 tables. So, again, that's Legion Gun Show in Minerva, Ohio, at the Minerva Community Building. Got that? Good. I don't want to have to tell you again.
Sure you will. I love the sound of your own voice. I can verify that one.
No, I don't. I've listened to myself, and it sounds terrible. March the 7th and 8th, Hermitage, PA, at the Hickory Post VFW, Route 62, east of PA 18, west of west of Mercer on 62 Hermitage, PA. That's for Mr. T. He likes that one. Anyway, that's March the 7th and 8th at Hickory Post VFW in Hermitage, PA. Okay, March the 21st and 2nd, Harbor Creek Fire Hall at the Fire Hall Social Hall, 7275 Buffalo Road, which is US Route 20, Harbor Creek, PA. Again, that's March 21st and 22nd at the Harbor Creek Fire Hall. Okay, now March the 28th and 29th, Hidden Valley Sportsman's Club, Hidden Valley, PA. It is 268 Gilkey Road, West Middlesex, PA. Again, that's 268 Gilkey, Gilkey.
M-O-U-S-E.
No, Road, R-O-A-D.
Oh.
Okay. I've been there from time to time when I first started going to gun shows, and I didn't seem to have what they normally want, but I've changed my merchandise over the years, so I'm going to try to go to that one myself again, if I can find it. It's Hidden Valley, and they called it gave it a good name because it is hidden.
I wonder if they have a ranch there. Get it? Hidden Valley Ranch?
You know, there just might be. If not, maybe they got some good ranch dressing. And anyhow, Scott Township Fire Department, March the 21st and 22nd. And that's on 3712 Harlansburg Road, Newcastle, PA. Again, that is March 21st and 22nd. And most of these are anywhere from 50 to 75 tables. Some of the bigger ones like this. Scott Township, if I remember right, has a big hall. So, okay, now, unfortunately, there's two, again, for Ashtabula, April the 18th and 19th, which is the weekend after Easter. Easter is early this year. Ashtabula County Fairgrounds, 127 North Elm Street, Jefferson, Ohio. Again, that's the 18th and 19th. The reason I said unfortunately is I always go there, but before they had their list published, I made up the arrangements to do a show at Cherry Tree Township Volunteer Fire Department, Cherry Tree Road, Titusville, PA, April the 18th and 19th. Again, that's Cherry Tree Township Volunteer Fire Department, Cherry Tree Road, Titusville, PA. Okay. You got anything you want to start with there, Scott? You got any opening remarks you want to make?
I can't really think of anything overly profound.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
Nothing.
Oh, we're up to 7 people watching. Oh my gosh. I don't know how we can do it. Hi, Daryl, or hey, Daryl. When you going to have a gun show next to a truck stop? Well, Winterborn, it's kind of hard to do because all the trucks that are there taking up all the space. Anyway. Well, you don't have to think anymore about Iran shooting down the airplane. They finally admitted it last night that they shooted it down.
And I'm kind of frustrated that there's not more outcry about,
In Iran about it?
I mean, just anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's because everybody was trying to blame Trump for it.
I'm sure they'll figure a way around that.
Well, that Muslim bitch from Minnesota, one of the
The squad.
the squad, that twat. She was trying to blame, well, if Trump hadn't attacked what's his name and killed him, then Iran wouldn't have had to launch the missiles and counter-strike force, and then they wouldn't have mistakenly shot down that airplane. So it's all Trump's fault because he tried to save American lives. Okay, that's basically the gist of it. It's not quoting her to the thing, that's just paraphrasing her.
See, that sounds an awful lot like her. Pretty good impression.
You know, there wasn't much outcry from the rest of the world, because you know why? Because a lot of the powers to be that have interest in that area know that Trump had done the world a favor when they waxed his ass, because the guy was responsible for I don't know how many deaths, and he was planning. They have, what was it, 2 or 4? They had intercepted 2 or 4 messages where he had plans set to attack 4 embassies in the Middle East. I think one was going to be in Lebanon, one in Syria. Of course, they were planning on the one in Iran or Iraq, but I don't know where the other one was be. Maybe Saudi Arabia. And that. So, let me see if there's a cigar in there. I need a smoke. There's one. Should be one cigar. One. Only one.
Nope, it's not in there. It's not bad for you anyhow.
I'm 71 years old. I don't care if it's bad for me or not. It might stunt my growth. Well, let me tell you, my growth is already stunted. You want to give me some matches over there, Scott? Please.
Oh, they're over here from when Randall was monkey.
Oh, when Randall the firebug was trying to light one.
All right, I'm going to read this story while he's monkeying around with that. For all you who do not know, Iran inadvertently shot down a civilian aircraft earlier this week. So the story goes. It's beginning to look like a crashed civilian airliner in Iran was mistakenly shot down by the Islamic Republic's air defense systems. Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 caught fire and plummeted to the ground Wednesday, shortly after takeoff in Tehran, an accident Iranian officials originally blamed on a technical issue with the plane. The rogue nation is now changing its tune as new photos emerge reportedly showing missile debris from an anti-aircraft system near the doomed plane's flight path. Now, Iran is saying the plane tried to turn back after taking off, a claim that runs counter to new evidence that implies a trigger-happy Iranian anti-aircraft crew. Photographs popping up on Iranian social media and now making their way to the West appear to show missile remains near the final flight path of the 737. The remains appear to be part of a Tor surface-to-air missile system. What's left seems to be the tip of the missile, a part that contains some guidance instruments and sits in front of the warhead. With a fragmenting payload, it's not impossible for this part to survive relatively intact. Okay. Even more damning for Iran is what was found on the wreckage of the aircraft itself. Shrapnel damage, possibly from a fragmenting anti-aircraft warhead, appears to have shredded parts of the plane. Seeing the extent of this damage makes it clear that this could have caused the 737 to catch fire and crash. So,
Now the evidence, I've seen videos. They have videos that have been transmitted. I saw them several different times, and it shows 2 trails. 2, not 1, 2, coming up from the ground and hitting that plane. Now, my question is, when you have a state of hostility going on between Iran and the United States, and Iran was in the midst of retaliation, why the tower, number one, gave clearance for the aircraft to take off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes me wonder who was on that manifest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in that, the conspiracy part of my brain.
Yeah, well, mine too. But then here's the other thing. Yeah, the other thing. I forgot it. Damn it. Oh, why the pilot agreed to take off when the state was going on. Okay?
Yeah.
So, you have two questions that lead up to it was a fucking setup. They wanted to kill somebody. Now, 17 Canadians were on there, but they were what? They were former Iranian nationals who were nationalized Canadians.
Peculiar.
Okay, now I'm not saying one of them was the target, but somebody on that plane was a target. And it's been known to happen throughout the world that if you want to get somebody, the best time to get them is on a plane where they're helpless. Take the whole plane out, kill everybody, and you got them. Let God sort them out.
And another bit of irony is what's, going on in our news. There's all kinds of Ukrainian collusion with the Trump campaign and, their officials and that whole Hunter Biden stuff. And it happens to be a Ukrainian airline.
Yeah.
I just thought that.
Well, that's the other thing.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one. I should have mentioned that. I knew it was a Ukrainian airline. I didn't know they were. I've got so much stuff going. I hadn't known, or read, or picked up on where they were trying to connect Trump and Ukraine together on that. But of course, now I will say our government in this past has been known to do the same exact thing. We are not innocent children here, by no means. Okay? But in this particular case, this was a deliberate setup by the Iranian officials for some reason. Okay?
Something's going on.
Yeah. Try and blame it on the U.S., but why would we shoot down an airliner from one of our batteries 500 miles away? I don't know how far Tehran is from the border of Iraq, but it's over there quite a ways. And
from my limited experience, I know I had a couple of classes on the Stinger missile when I was in the Army back in the late 80s, early 90s. And there is a beacon that is within the Stinger setup. And civilian aircraft, there is a beacon locator or what have you. I'm probably using the wrong words. In civilian aircraft that will prevent our Stinger missiles from firing. I don't know what this Tor system is all about. I'm sure the technology is out there.
Well, all that systems could be pulled.
Yeah, I mean, very, very, very easily. But I'm just saying, if it was one of ours, I'm sure that the
system would have turned it off.
The system would have prevented it from. But I mean, like I said, that was.
But you could tell. But if you watch the videos, you can see the trails of two missiles going up after it and making a nice fireball in the sky.
Yes. Something else I learned about anti-aircraft missiles. I always expected or thought that they would be like these monstrous explosions and whatnot.
No, don't take much.
Because the way they're designed is, it's more shrapnel than explosion. All it really needs to do is puncture the fuselage, and these planes are all like highly pressurized.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
All it takes is a puncture, and then it'll rip great big holes in it.
And then it just starts crashing in, imploding in on itself.
Yeah.
I guess I'd watched too many Rambo movies and expected, nuclear bombs in the sky and shit.
Well, you see, that's why they have the shells that go up in a proximity shell. It goes up and gets approximately so close and it explodes and sends the shrapnel through, because it's a lot better like a shotgun shell.
Sure.
It goes up and explodes and sends out multi-projectiles and damage the plane and bring it down rather than trying to hit it.
Hit a moving target.
Yeah. Okay. It's like hunting pheasants with a shotgun. Okay. So that's probably what those guys were doing. They were probably bored, thought it was a pheasant.
Yeah.
So then they cracked off around. Okay, I'm going to read, I got something here. Then, not to get, because we'll probably get back to this Iraqi thing before the night's over, because I have several things domestically that we need to talk about here. Number one, Pelosi attempted to kill border security attack in court. So let's go see what you know what the problem with her is. Pelosi.
She's crazy.
No, she's got too much rice in her diet and she's constipated.
You know about constipation, that's for sure.
Do I know
You are
about
the
that?
ranking expert in that field, I'm telling you.
You know the sad part is when I get that, I just had a day in which I got flushed right out, you know what I mean? Then next day, nothing. But anyway, that's a shitty story, so let's go on.
Oh, God.
Yeah. A prominent legal team that specializes in constitutional issues has submitted a friend of the court brief to the District of Columbia Circuit Court of Appeals that pulls the rug from under a lawsuit brought by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi against President Trump's effort to secure the nation's southern border. Now, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Isn't that part of our thing is to have secure borders? The American Center for Law and Justice, or the ACLJ, argues Congress appropriated funds to secure portions of the southern border and authorized the transfer of additional funds for that purpose. The lawsuit ACLJ says aims to give some unhappy members of one chamber of the Congress and certain of other constituents the result that the actual representative body of Congress is politically unwilling, unable to achieve within the constitutional structure would violate separation of power principles and improperly invade the provisions of the political branches. Right. Pelosi and her caucus have insisted that no money should go to building a border wall. So Trump has negotiated wall spending in certain bills and has repurposed other federal money for other federal money under various emergency powers. The ACLJ argued in district court that Pelosi lacked standing to sue. The court agreed, and the House Speaker is appealing that decision. So, she cannot undermine what Congress has already given authority to, but that's what they're trying to do. It just shows you how out of contact with what the government they are and their body function. And I'm beginning to believe that the whole confounded House, has too much rice in their diet and is constipated. The shit's going to their brain. So, anyway, do you have anything next you want to do there, Scott?
You took all the papers.
Oh, I took all the papers. I want Scott to do a lot of them because I've been talking for 2 days.
All right, here we go. This is a short one. Representative Steve Scalise blasted House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She's gonna get hammered by us a lot tonight, I'm afraid. the Democrat from California, for not yet forwarding the impeachment articles against President Donald Trump to the Senate and said Democrats know their sham case will be exposed. Scalise made his remarks Thursday in a tweet, and I quote, Dems used to claim impeachment was urgent, but 22 days after passing the articles, Pelosi is still making pathetic excuses for not sending them to the Senate. It's clear what's going on. Dems know their sham case will be exposed and are trying to avoid national embarrassment. His comments echoed those of Vice President Mike Pence, who had said Pelosi's continued refusal to send the articles to the Senate exposes what frankly a sham process this has been. Yeah, if Trump is such an imminent danger to the
You would have thought within 20 minutes that paper would have been carried
they would
over.
have been,
Because all you gotta do is cross the hall.
been running around with signs, and I just don't get it. I saw a thing on the dang gum internet machine, I brought it up to you earlier, that there's a rumor going around that I'm trying to start, maybe, that perhaps Nancy Pelosi got drunk and lost the articles of impeachment. I'm just saying, anything's possible in this crazy day and age.
You know, you're right.
Anything's
Okay.
possible.
Either that or they wrote it in invisible ink so nobody could read it to see what was not in it.
Yeah. Well, we have to sign it to see what's in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still get pretty pissed off about that situation.
Yeah.
Well.
Speaking of a couple comments here about Virginia, I'm pretty damn sure that there was probably a couple people up there from Virginia at the gun show based on some conversations that I was engaged in. And so you hold on to your hats, folks. It's going to get rocky because if the governor goes through and the House goes through with what they're planning on doing, the National Guard has already indicated they're not going to go after them. So that means the only resort that the governor has is to bring in UN troops, which I guess he's already in the process of negotiating for.
I wouldn't think a governor would have that kind of authority.
Well, remember, the United States is made up of 50 independent countries. People forget that. Each one of us is independent. Okay? Now, the central government was formed to provide a common defense and to regulate commerce so that we didn't have 50 different sets of tariffs between the states for shipment of products from one state to another. You follow what I'm saying?
I follow you. I feel you, dog. I feel you.
Yeah, okay. This is how the European Union was supposed to work.
Yeah.
Okay, so technically, the governor has that right. Now, the drawback is if he decides to do that, how's he going to get them into this country? Because they have to cross other state borders to do that. Now, if they come down and around down through communist state of New Jersey and down around through Delaware and Maryland, they would put them right into Virginia. They wouldn't have to go very far. In fact, I think Virginia even has some coastline. Okay?
Yeah.
In the Chesapeake Bay, maybe? So they can just come in by ship.
If they're not already here.
Yeah, but they're already here. There's been UN troops here for a long time.
Something that I muse upon, I think about, going back to the Civil War days, there was a whole army based out of Virginia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And, whenever they have they take these polls, I guarantee they're only ever asking people in the big cities, which is predominantly Democrat. You start having troops stomping through the woods of Virginia, there's going to be a lot of bullets flying.
Well, it's the same way with Pennsylvania. Trying to tromp through Pennsylvania, now you ain't going to make it. Okay? Before
It seems absurd to even think about.
This was through Soviet intelligence, before the Soviet Unions broke up, Okay, the Soviet intelligence agency, whatever you want to call them, had did a breakdown of the most heavily armed nations in the world. Pennsylvania came in fourth.
Ah,
Okay, so just food for thought. Now, if Pennsylvania's that way, and we have as many socialists in our government as they got, what's Virginia been like for years? Seeing as how 250 some years ago they decided to kick the British out, and then what was it, about 75 years later they decided to try and kick the Yankees out. So there's been some gigantic history made from the people of Virginia, and from what it sounds to me, it sounds like the population is getting ready to do it again.
it will be a culling of the herd, I'm afraid.
Winter, I did not see your video, and I don't know where to go to get it, and I would like to play it, but I just don't know where to go, and I don't want to change my screen because it's too damn hard to get this shit back on. So I apologize for not doing it. I agree with you. So I'm going to put the word out. People, if you know how to get all of Winter's video, view it, and come on to the next week to the chat room and brief us on what you saw. Because I can't do everything, so I can watch this and I can, maybe brief you on what was in there. But spread the word. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what's in it. But as long as there ain't no naked women in there, it's okay.
Speaking of spreading the word, one of my coworkers has a child that's in the military. Actually, both her child and the child's spouse. I forget if it's her son or her daughter, vice versa. And they are stationed down outside of D.C. And I guess D.C., ever since this whole business with the Iran and whatnot was kicked off, has been crazy lockdown.
Oh, it is. It's got several qualified in-depth threats, let's put it that way.
And in addition to, not being, they're putting up extra perimeters around the White House and other big buildings, important structures. She was even saying that her and her child and their spouse live on one military base, and the spouse actually works on another military base. Well, privately owned vehicles can't get onto this military base. Anybody who works on that base and lives on another, they're being taken by tactical Humvees from one spot to the next. That's the only way they're allowing anyone on or off the base.
That makes sense. That does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that cuts down the number of vehicles going to be coming in and out of there, because they can go to one base and pick up 3 or 4 or 5, whatever Humvee capacity it is, and bring them over. That's 4 vehicles less they have to try and search.
Mm-hmm. Just heightened. I mean, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
It's a prudent step. It's too bad we have to go that way, that we have allowed a small country like Iran to put us in that kind of a titter, because for the past 50 years, 40 years, since 1979, everybody has been afraid to slap the Iranians down, okay, for becoming a threat. And it shouldn't be us that's doing it. It should be Saudi Arabia. It should be Iraq. It should be Jordan. It should be Syria. It should be Lebanon, maybe even Egypt. And Bahrain should all be in there knocking the snot out of the Iranians, not us. Yeah, but
Going back to that hostage business back in the day, I saw a picture on the internet machine today where that Soleimani, he was one of the military officers that was responsible for the taking of the embassy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was back one of the militia leaders, yeah. Okay, Bob, I will put this out so people will know how to find it. You go to youtube.com/Winter user/Bob. Crap, I can't even pronounce the last name. Brother yeah. I'm sorry. I gotta get my glasses changed and that. So anyway, there you go.
BLITHERACT.
Yeah, so I'll give you that much of a help there, Bob, to get people out there to look. And that, so spread the word, people. And like I said, next week you can come in on the chats and give me an update of what he had to say and that, and see how much it is coming true. And that, so. Okay. Well.
Oh, I was gonna read that one.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
All right. Authorities warn suicide bomber headed to U.S. Apparently this was a memo that was circulated to law enforcement. Authorities along the U.S. border are on alert after receiving a law enforcement intelligence warning about a possible suicide bomber heading north toward the U.S.-Mexico border. Breitbart obtained an exclusive copy of the leaked official document from a source operating under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security. The official report was circulated to Homeland Security Investigations. Okay, rewind. The official report was circulated to law enforcement partners along the U.S. border. The intelligence originated from Homeland Security Investigations, and the report was circulated by Border Patrol Intelligence. Breitbart confirmed the authority of the document with multiple law enforcement sources. However, the details contained within the report have not been verified by Breitbart, and the purpose of officials circulating the warning is to alert other authorities and to seek help in verifying the accuracy of information. So, I mean, I think that's something.
Well, if it's not beyond the realms of possibility. We know that terrorists and terrorist organizations have been smuggling people across the border for years.
And also they've been, converting them here as well. So I read that and they're trying to get them in, but it would make more sense to me if they would actually use somebody that's already here that they've converted and twisted their ideologies.
You might be bringing them the supplies, okay? But it's set to go off if he should get caught. That kind of situation.
Hunks of metal.
Hunks of metal firearms?
I guess they're.
Well, I guess they are if you throw them at somebody. That's a projectile, isn't it?
You say pew as you're throwing it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're talking about those 80% receivers.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that.
Yeah, they're talking about that. They're wanting to have them background checks on anybody that buys one. Okay. Yeah. Even under the ATF rulings, you can have a disassembled AR-15, all the parts, including a serial numbered lower receiver. Parts themselves are not a firearm. And because of the way the AR-15 comes apart, it is not classified as a firearm. Because you take it apart, you have one half that don't shoot, okay? The other half won't shoot because they don't have the mechanism to fire it. And a firearm has to be capable of firing. So if you have the disassembled firearm, or AR-15, it's not classified as a firearm. That's under their own, I'm paraphrasing, that's under their own auspices. But it's like anything, they don't pay attention to it. It's how they decide to interpret it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, oh shit, what was I gonna say? I'm tired, folks. I've had a bad week in trying to get sleep. For some reason or other, I have developed an allergy to something, and when I go to bed at night, first thing that happens, within about 20 minutes, I get the itches.
Have you tried the Benadryl?
Yes, I tried the Benadryl. I took one last night. It didn't help. No. The other night I tried it, and it helped some, okay? And last night I tried it, it didn't help, but then it didn't help because when I took my medicines, one of the pills got stuck against the esophagus or your tube down to your stomach, and it dissolved there and gave me a bad case of heartburn.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to get up and drink some water, and that didn't do it, so I drank some milk to coat it. That cleaned it out, but I still sat up because I didn't know, with that doing like it is, how much acid it was creating.
Yeah.
in that.
My wife has that problem with just about all of her pills. She always keeps a bag of gummy bears or something like that with her pills. So after she takes her pills, she takes a gummy bear, and that helps push, or a cookie or a cracker or something
Yeah.
dense enough to help.
Yeah, something that'll rough that'll scrape it away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, I haven't pre-read this, but this is about a gal you were talking about earlier, Ilhan Omar. She was caught giggling as U.S.-Iraqi war deaths are discussed. Representative Ilhan Omar already had a reputation for speaking lightly of American deaths, but this is a step beyond. The Minnesota Democrat was captured in a video of a news conference Wednesday giggling with one of her squad comrades as Representative Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas discussed the thousands of American service members who've died in fighting in Iraq. And Omar's colleagues in Congress took notice. Absolutely shameful, said Georgia Republican Jody Heiss. Here's another one that was, at House Democrats make light of American lives lost overseas. Our brave men and women in uniform deserve our utmost respect and applause for their service and sacrifice, not mockery and laughter. Appalling as it is to see a U.S. Congresswoman acting out like a schoolgirl while the deaths of her countrymen were under discussion, the incident came at the same news conference where Omar claimed she was stricken with PTSD by the conversations around war dominating the nation's capital this week. As Fox News reported, Indiana Rep. Jim Banks, a Republican who served in Afghanistan as a Navy Supply Corps officer in 2015, wasn't buying that claim at all. This is a disgrace and offensive to our nation's veterans who really do have PTSD after putting their life on the line to keep America safe. In her own tweet, Omar responded that her PTSD stemmed from her childhood in war-torn Somalia and attacked Banks for trying to erase the PTSD of survivors. Well, if the Congresswoman representing the North Star State wants to claim post-traumatic stress disorder from the hellhole her family fled from, it's tough to argue. But there's no arguing the evidence that she didn't seem too stressed while yucking it up with the often unhinged Michigan Democrat Representative Rashida Tlaib. As fellow Democrat Jackson Lee talked about American war deaths. And Heiss wasn't the only one who thought the conduct was shameful. Of course, the times being what they are, there were quite a few Twitter respondents who actually defended Omar. One comment, for instance, noted that while the conduct might have been unprofessional, Omar wasn't laughing at the idea of American deaths, just having a conversation at the back of a news conference, which shouldn't be viewed as acceptable in the first place. Heiss was then accused of gaslighting, which is what liberals call just about anything they disagree with lately. But arguments like that don't change anything. The fact is, Omar was acting as a United States Congresswoman, appearing with her fellow lawmakers at a news conference in a time when the country is engaged in a military confrontation with Iran, a hostile power that has been essentially at war with the U.S. for 40 years. The fact is, she chose that moment to act like a fifth grader on a class trip. It's not easy to make a liberal as repugnant as Sheila Jackson Lee look like the adult in the room, but Omar managed to pull it off. Omar is already infamous for, among other things, referring to the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 as some people did something. Actually giggling during the discussion of American combat deaths, though, it's a step far beyond that.
Jack says she should be expelled from the country and sent back to Somalia. Well, what gets me is she wants to claim PTSD. She wants to claim it because she come from a shithole country, okay, because, well, I have my personal opinions why, but I won't air them because it might offend somebody. And that won't do any good to have us taken off the air if I use it. So we won't go there, but you know what I'm implying. But yet, troops, our soldiers who've been over in those shithole countries, who get attacked, shot at, blown up by hidden bombs and makeshift weaponry and all that kind of stuff, who suffer death, suffer dismemberment, loss of use of body parts, you know what I'm saying? They can't. They cannot. That's not, you know, that's funny. Ha 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 ha. But I got it. You can't laugh at me. Okay? It's not a two-sided coin. Okay? It's not two sides where it's only you that gets affected. Other people get affected. And if you can't reason out, you need a refresher course in the way your country is. Why don't you pack your shit and get the out of here?
You know, I think if you are a politician at that level, talking about war, it should not trigger. You should not have problems talking about war, because you may have to be the one who says, send him in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't have an actual adult professional conversation without being triggered, then you're in the wrong profession. Maybe you should go get a job at, anywhere else.
They used to have shoe sign stands on the corner, so you could probably go open one of them up. You'd probably do real good business, because I've seen your picture. You're not really that bad looking. Of course, I don't want people to think I'm going crazy. I know I need glasses, folks.
You know, just to kind of throw out the whole PTSD thing, it's horrible, and I'm not making light of that situation, and I've even questioned whether or not I have some sort of PTSD, which I don't believe I do. But I had a coworker, a little 18-year-old gal. She drove an ambulance, a volunteer fireman, and she was a volunteer fireman, so she deals with some pretty strict stuff. And one of our residents once was not doing well, and she was sent in to check on him, and she's like, no, that's too much of a trigger for me. I can't. My PTSD. That pissed me off.
If you have that disability, then you're in the wrong business.
Yes, and it's not like the guy was like having like a violent death fit. He just wasn't doing well. Maybe it was a girl. I don't remember. But to me, it just seemed like she was using that as an excuse to get out of work.
Was she ever in the military and saw anything like that?
No.
Just based on what she's seen when she's working?
Yeah, well, I think earlier that year her father, or a year or so before, her father had committed suicide.
Well,
So she was struggling with those
Yeah.
demons, which I understand. But how can you justify being a volunteer fireman, going into fires, dealing with ambulance crews? She was actually going to school to be, a paramedic, and say, no, I can't go into that residence room because...
Well, I was an ambulance driver. I was a paid ambulance driver for about a little over 2 years, until I screwed up my back. Okay? And I seen a lot of shit on the road.
Oh yeah, and you do.
Okay? Actually, I don't think there's a road going out of Meadville that I didn't have to go out and scrape people up off the road. Okay, because of stupid things that they have done. Okay?
That was years before stupid cell phones.
Yeah. Okay, because they were doing stupid things. 27 going over towards Chapmanville there on one of the curves in the hill. 5 kids were riding in a convertible, and one was sitting on the back end, sitting up on the back ledge of the convertible. And when they went up over the hump for the curve, they went up like that, and he flew off the back end and landed right smack on his head. Okay? Now, I had to use a towel to wrap his head in order to pick him up off the pavement. Okay? Then there's the guy out here, he was murdered I don't think they ever caught the murderer, but he was murdered. And we got a call out to go out and help clean up the mess. And when we got back, we had pieces of human tissue under the underside of our ambulance. Okay, because that's how much messed up he was.
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay. So I mean, you know, I have those things. It didn't bother me. I come home after the one on the Route 27. I come home and had hamburgers for supper. Okay, you have to brush that stuff off. And if you can't do that, then that's not a job that you should be in.
Correct.
So, and those are only a couple. I had some funny ones where I chased a naked woman and a guy through County Lake Park out here one night at 3 o'clock in the morning on a full moon.
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay, nice looking girl too. But that was a funny one. But like I say, there isn't one of the roads going out of town here, except maybe 322 going south. Okay, because Cochran was down there. And,
Yeah, that was back when Buford was the
yeah, Buford Pusser.
Buford, and I guess that was his nickname. He was a cop that used to sit down there, so people would always. Would be trying to
Yeah,
look-
he was Branyai.
Branyai?
Yeah, he was a cop from Pittsburgh. I guess he got fired because he was abusive. So he came up to Cochran and got a job as a chief. And he would drive around in his patrol car through town, and if he saw you out on your front porch drinking a beer, he'd order you off the porch or put you under arrest.
Yeah, it's a little much if you ask me.
Yeah, hey, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting right here on my front porch on my property enjoying a can of beer. You step on my property, you're trespassing.
Just because you have a badge and gun don't make it right.
Yeah. Okay. So we're kind of getting off the thing there, but yeah, I've been hearing that there are militias in other states that are ramping up to come in to help Virginia. So like I said, if this busts, it's liable to spread. And yeah, we did win at Bundy Ranch as far as that goes. In a head-to-head confrontation with the ATF, the FBI, and all the rest of those mindless bastards out there. They tried to bully their way around, and they were coming in. And when they saw one of the militia cavalries stretched out before them, and they saw how many there were, and the fact that they were outnumbered, and even the sniper positions that the ATF and the FBI had set up had already been bracketed. Okay, and so I mean, you know, the militia was well organized and ready. And if something would have happened, I'm assured that since the militia had the sniper positions already spotted and, you know, counter system set up, that it could have been a mess. So we came close, but it was averted. So, but that's a little different. They're talking about one person here, the Bundys. We're now talking about a whole state full. Okay? We're talking about a whole state full. I don't know what the population is of Virginia, but let's just say it's 3, 4, 5, a million. Okay? With the heaviest population in the Richmond maybe, and I'm not sure some of the other cities down there. It's been so long since I've had to look that stuff up, I forgot. But anyway. Well, you're right about that. About 11 of the people who showed up at the Bundy Ranch have been arrested and prosecuted. I don't call that a win. Well, it's certainly not a draw, but what they did was they picked on 11 people to try and send a message. Okay? I think the next time that happens, it's going to be a totally different thing. 8.5 million.
That's as of the 2018.
Yeah, and how many What's the two biggest or three biggest cities down there?
It didn't say.
Okay. It's, why do you keep showing up? I don't want you. Okay, just a second, I got something I have to do. I don't know where it's coming up, but it keeps coming up, so.
All right, the population of Virginia Beach, I think that seems to be the biggest. That's 440-some thousand.
Richmond is the capital.
Richmond has 227,000-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Norfolk, 242,000. Chesapeake, 225,000.
Okay, those all seem to be right along the coastline.
And that's where
Yeah,
predominantly,
yeah.
farther you go in, you get more
You get more,
rural.
yeah, rural. Yeah, that, so, but anyway, I don't want to see it happen. Of course, I've been doing this now for over 25 years, since 95, so 95, 2005, 2015, that's 20, and then this is 2020, so I've been doing this for at least 25 years, okay?
Yep.
And I decided back then that the reason I wanted to do that was to do this because I knew it may cost me stuff, and it did, it cost me. But how much is your freedom worth? Okay? Answer that, seriously, how much is your freedom worth? If it's not worth anything to you, then go sell yourself to the man and become his boot wife. Okay? If it means something to you, then stand up for it. Don't let somebody else have to do all the work, but stand up for it. So that brings us to what I've been doing, Mike was doing, and people that come here to the show have been doing, trying to fill in and help, because they realize that there's a certain price you have to pay in order to be free. Okay? And if you don't want to pay it, my personal opinion, if you don't want to pay the price to be free, there's a road going to Canada, there's a road going to Mexico, there are ships leaving every day going to Europe and elsewhere, there are planes leaving this country going elsewhere. Why don't you buy a ticket and go? Don't worry about turning out the lights or locking your door. We will take care of that. Just get the hell out of here. And I don't care if you're a citizen of the United States or if you're one of these illegal immigrants, or if you're one of these naturalized sons of bitches that come in here and don't want to leave the crap behind that they left to come here for the freedoms. Okay? Well, folks, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. Unfortunately, there won't be any music because I now have to rediscover how to the list that Mike had and how to bring it up, because the list that I was using had copyright and I infringed on them. So maybe by next week I will be able to get that straightened out. I will come down here and work on it probably Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what my schedule is. I have business I have to take care of in town. I got to go put the start the advertisement for the gun show, and so then I got to go to the bank. So at that point, I'm going to take about a 5-minute break, maybe 6 minutes, and we'll be back. Enjoy yourself. The smoking lamp is now lit. The smoking lamp is now lit. during the break, I've been reading some of the comments about it. Can you hear me okay? I hope. Reading some comments about where these snipers should have been shot. Okay, I will tell you right now, the comment where they should have been shot through their scope will not work. You don't know much about the makeup of the interns of a scope. There are 4 or 5 different pieces of lens in there. Some of them are fairly thick to make everything work, because you have to change the windage and the elevation, okay? You also have to change the focus. Those lenses are pretty thick glass because they're made so they wouldn't break under adverse conditions. The bullet might go through part of the scope, but it will not make it all the way to the eye. And there's been, I know you've seen it on Private Ryan, or you've seen it in Sniper. That is Hollywood. Remember, you can't believe half the shit that Hollywood does, and you shouldn't, and you should question the other half. Okay? Scotty and I were talking about that. If you watch the program Mythbusters, they tried everything they could think of to be able to shoot through a scope and hit the object on the other side. It doesn't mean the scope and the rifle might not get pushed back, but it's not going to get pushed back enough that it's going to do much damage to the guy. If you want to shoot him in the head, use the scope as a guide and slide it right down to his other eye. Forget the scope, shoot for the other eye. Okay? And yes, there probably have been a lot of persecuted people from Patriots. Persecuted since that. 16,000, I think they said. But in any war, before the bullets fly, people are persecuted. That's what pushes them over the edge to make the bullets fly, to stop the persecution. Okay? People just don't seem to learn to learn that. You can only push people so far before they decide to fight back. And we're close to that right now. Yeah, okay, yeah, it was fun to watch, but, okay, I just want to point that out to you so you don't get the false impression here that if you shoot somebody in the scope that you're going to take their head off. You might give them a black eye because of the scope going back and hitting them in the head, but it's not going to kill them. If it was a 50 caliber, I think would do it. But who's got a 50 caliber? How many people do that? I mean, there are 50 calibers out there. Don't get me wrong. Plus, the other factor is the distance that they may have been shooting would have been 6, 7, 8, 900 yards. And once the bullet leaves the barrel, the velocities drop off fairly fast. And the further out you go, the faster it drops. And what happens when it starts to slow down? Old man Mr. Gravity gets a hold of that bullet and starts to pull it down because the velocity is not going fast enough to keep it up. Okay? Mr. Gravity takes over. So, like I said, if you want to shoot him in the head, use the scope as a guide, put it right down beside you. Use the other eye. If you're that good, use the other eye. Otherwise, shoot for the biggest part of the body you can get.
Aim for center mass.
That's right. Get the biggest chunk of meat that you can find and put it in there.
They have all kinds of room for shooting at us.
They wouldn't know where the core they couldn't fill their scope.
Jesus, look at it. Size of that thing over there.
Where am I supposed to shoot? I can't tell.
Just don't shoot the Twinkie out of my hand, please.
Okay, I don't want to sound critical, but I've been a gunsmith for since I graduated in 1980, so you figure out how long that's been.
40 years.
Yeah, give or take a day or two.
I want to be 50 this year. I was born in 1970.
Yeah.
I was 10 in 1980.
And that's when I graduated.
Graduated.
Yeah, graduated. That's when I got finished being educated. So, anyway, that's why I tell you, believe half of what you see and question the other half. Okay? Believe half of what you read, but question the other half. It's up to you to decide which half you're going to believe and which half you're going to question. If you don't believe any of it, all the better it is, because then you can go and research and find out for yourself.
I got a funny little ditty that this just goes percentage thing popped into my head. From health class in like junior high, back when teachers could be a little more crass than they can now. We were talking about sex and such, sex ed, and the teacher said something about 97% of all men masturbate, and the other 3% are lying. So.
Well, I ain't lying.
I would never
The
go.
calluses on my hand prove I can't lie.
Hopefully that wasn't too crass for you, but that's whenever I start hearing percentages, that's the first thing that
Oh,
pops
I
into
know.
my head.
I know. So, anyway.
I have something.
Go ahead. Fire away with Grizzly.
This is something that Captain Cranky Britches over there printed out, I think last week, but we didn't get to. And we were talking about Ukraine and Hunter Biden and whatnot. This doesn't have anything to do with the Ukrainian airplane, but it's got Ukraine in the title, so I want to talk about it. Okay. Hunter Biden's Chinese firm linked to bloody crackdown in Africa. He possibly profited from Congolese army's attacks on mining operations. Amid controversy over Hunter Biden's dealings in Ukraine, there are new allegations that his Chinese company profited from a Congolese army's crackdown on miners in Africa. The Washington Free Beacon reported the Chinese company BHR invested in a Congolese mine that was the site of gross human rights abuses and at least one death. Hunter Biden joined the BHR board in 2013 and later purchased a 10% stake while his father was Obama's point man for China policy. Among BHR's investments was the largest cobalt and copper mine in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Tenke Fungurume, I can't even, the TF mine, the Tenke mine, where the Congolese military in June executed a brutal crackdown on illegal mining viewed as a threat to the mine's bottom line, the Free Beacon reported. The government torched houses and cracked down on dissent, the Free Beacon said, and the violence came to a head in August when the military shot a woman dead. BHR was working on the sale of the mine to another Chinese company in 2019, resulting in a profit of about $1.1 billion. While Biden's legal team has claimed that the BHR shares have yet to pay dividends, he stands to benefit financially when he sells those shares, the Free Beacon said. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden's receipt of more than $3 million from corrupt natural gas company Burisma Holdings, while his father was in charge of Ukraine policy, is at the center of articles of impeachment passed by House Democrats. Hunter Biden stepped away from BHR board in October, but still has ownership shares. BHR leveraged financial support for China, Mali Bandenum to buy 24% of Congo's Tenke Fungurume mine in 2017. Congo's military crackdown took place after thousands of people recovered ore without permission near the mine. The illegal miners were identified as a security risk, and the mine's managers asked the government to do something. The military evicted the alleged illegal miners in June, deploying between 600 and 800 troops, according to the Agency French press. AFP reported in August the confrontation quickly turned violent, with armed forces burning down dozens of homes suspected of belonging to illegal miners. A 3-year-old girl and a 14-month-old boy were severely burned, according to Reuters. Soldiers fired into the mining camp, killing a woman and injuring 9 others. So, more shady business.
Yep. This gets off the topic just a little bit, but I was reading an article. My printer's giving me fits. Okay. I'm going to probably have to break down and buy one here soon. But one day I'll go in and I can print and everything will print out. The next day I can go in and it tells me that my something or other is nearly full. Ink absorber or whatever it is nearly full. and therefore I have to do these following steps. Then the next day I can go in and I can print out whatever I want. So it's been a, it's one of them moments. If you ever have frustrations, and you want to get rid of your frustrations, get yourself a target range where you can go and set up a bunch of crap, TVs, VCRs, and just have at it and feel how much fresher you feel. Blow a few things away. Anyway.
Still won't print the videos, somebody said.
No, I still won't print the videos. I gave up on that. It's the not being able to print the story. Okay? It took me, normally I get down and get on the computer and I'll go through the news sites and I can pick 2 or 3 stories in about an hour. Print them out. Okay? No problem. Boom. This took me 3 hours to get one story to print because I had to go through all this rigmarole with the printer. So I don't know if the printer's memory is going bad or whatever. I've even cleared the downloading off my computer and reloaded it. Okay, so it's probably one of them things where I don't know how many stories it's put out. I've had it for probably 10 years, so it's printed a few stories.
Yeah.
You know. So, but anyway, the comment that I want to make is getting a little bit off the track. I saw a thing where UN soldiers, I forget what country they were from, but they were sent to Uganda for peacekeepers, and they impregnated a lot of young girls.
Oh yeah, every time there's a UN peacekeeping force, you know, a few years after it's in the news, you start hearing all these stories about just rape, murder, and mayhem. You know, these people are from another country. They can care less.
Well, they come from a country that's got the same crap going on as theirs, so they could care less. Over here, I can do it legally because I'm not from their country. I'm here under the UN auspice system. Nobody's going to do anything with the UN, so I get sent back to my country, and there you are.
It was just some guy with a blue hat that knocked up my daughter.
Yeah. So, if that guy ever finds that blue hat, he'd have a weenie roast.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I have one here that's kind of domestic, but it's going international. The IOC, no taking a knee at Tokyo Olympics. This is from Newsmax. Okay. No taking a knee at the Olympics, no hand gestures with political meanings, no disrespect at medal ceremonies. The International Olympic Committee published guidelines Thursday specifying which types of athletes will not be allowed at the 2020 games. They don't want all this political protest. It's supposed to be just for games. So if you're going to be one of them rowdy bunch, you ain't going to be allowed to come. Athletes are prohibited by the Olympic Charter Rule 50 from taking a political stand in the field of play, while, like the raised fist by American sprinter Tommy Smith and John Carlos at the 1968 Mexico City Games. That's going back a ways. Okay, Tokyo Olympians now know more about which acts of divisive disruption will lead to the disciplinary action in Tokyo, which means if you win, you probably would be stripped of your medal, which you should be, okay? They can still express political opinions in official media settings on social media accounts. In other words, you can say what you want in front of the press, you can say what you want in social media, but you can't say anything in these ceremonies or on the field while you're participating.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, it is, okay? Because that's not what this is for. This is not for political bullshit. This is to bring athletes together to try and bring the world more together. Basic concept is good. Basic concept is still good. The only problem is the basic concept is being infiltrated by assholes. I'm sorry.
I don't think you're sorry in the least.
And, no, I'm not. Okay. We needed clarity, and they wanted clarity on the rules, said Christy Coventry, chairman of the IOC Athletes Commission, which oversaw the new 3-page document. The majority of athletes feel it is very important that we respect each other's as athletes. Okay? Coventry, an Olympic gold medalist in swimming, is now Zimbabwe's sports minister. Well, that's what happens when you have a dictatorship in these countries. You got a minister for this, a minister for that. But anyway, that's okay. Athletes who break protest rules at the July 24th through August 9th Tokyo Games face 3 rounds of disciplinary action by the IOC, sports governing body, and the National Olympic Body. New guidelines come after 2 American athletes were reprimanded by the U.S. Olympic Committee for medal podium protest at the Pan American Games in August in Lima, Peru. Fencer race, emboldened knee and hammer thrower Gwen Berry raised a fist in protest. Both were put on probation for 12 months, a period that covers the Tokyo Games. See? You cut yourself off at the knee because now you're not allowed to participate in the Tokyo Games. Good. Other protests in 2019 included swimmers from Australia and Britain refusing to join World Championship gold medalist Sun Yang on the podium because the Chinese star had been implicated in doping violations. In other words, she's taking drugs. Okay? If she was taking drugs, that's another reason why she shouldn't be allowed to have her medal. But on the same token, the awards ceremony is not where you bring that up. The political gesture at the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics went unpunished in the men's marathon. Silver medalist Felicia Leslie crossed his wrist at the finish line to show support with freedom-seeking protesters in his home region of Ethiopia. It is a fundamental principle that sport is neutral and must be separated from political, religious, or any other type of interference, the IOC document states. Using the focus of the field day and related ceremonies must be on celebrating athletes' performance. Got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, some of the, just scrolling through that one news site, some of the more woke, to use their term, athletes are saying that this rule is, it will not be silenced. We have freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. Well, by their own admission, they're saying you can say what you want, just
Not on the field.
not on the field.
Or at the ceremonies.
There's another one, little ditty here. Iran's only female Olympic medalist defects to the Netherlands.
What was his,
Her.
her, what was her specialty? Long distance running? Or maybe she was a long distance swimmer.
I'm not finding it. I don't know. I don't know. My feet are cold.
Good night to our heroes. That's from G.I. Joseph. What does this thing keep coming up here for?
What?
It's a autoplay thing that keeps coming up, and I've canceled it out. I don't know how many times, but every 5 minutes it keeps coming back up again. So I don't know what that's from. I'll see if I can find it after we get done. So, okay, I'm sorry I was daydreaming. You got anything more you want to say over there?
Not really.
Not really? Got any more stories over there?
Just these ones.
I think that one, that's the White House. Yeah. Why don't you read that one, then we'll go into
Which one?
the Pelosi, and then we'll
This
have
one here?
open fire zone for, which one's that? White House, yeah, welcomes court ruling.
All right. The White House says construction of the U.S.-Mexico border wall will move forward after a federal appeals court ruling that frees up construction money. The 2-1 ruling on Wednesday halted a federal judge's ruling in December that had prevented the government from spending $3.6 billion diverted from 127 military construction projects to pay for 175 miles of border wall. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit noted that the Supreme Court in July had stayed a similar injunction, clearing the way for the Trump administration to tap billions of dollars in Pentagon funds to build sections of border wall. The government is entitled to the same relief here, the 3-judge panel wrote. President Donald Trump tweeted about the ruling and wrote that the entire wall is under construction or getting ready to start. White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham said on Thursday that the court had lifted an illegitimate nationwide injunction and in doing so had allowed work on the border wall to continue with military construction money. "We will finish the wall," she said in a statement. The spending affected by the court ruling is intended for 11 projects in California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. The longest and most expensive by far would span 52 miles in Laredo, Texas, at an estimated cost of $1.27 billion. Opponents of the Trump administration's actions had welcomed the earlier district court ruling that had put the work on hold, calling the Republican president's actions an outrageous power grab. They noted that Trump had promised repeatedly during the 2016 presidential campaign that Mexico would pay for the wall.
It's funny how it's taken them 3 years to clear the hurdles of all these different challenges about securing our borders and protecting the American people from future terrorists or more terrorists, or preventing the information getting through to terrorists to carry out their terroristic act that they're here for to carry out. Okay?
For which do you mean?
Yeah.
In addition to,
Yeah.
and in perpetuity.
Yeah. Okay. So these, it only adds to the destruction of the Democratic Party. Okay, they don't want to put the wall up because that'll stop future voters from coming in, because when they come in, we can give them all this free stuff, so they'll vote for us and put us back in power, and then we'll allow some more come in so we can give more free stuff away and put us back in power, and then in the meantime, the tax-paying public, which gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Where do these politicians think this money's going to come from for their unlimited?
Out of your wallet.
Well, you know, if they had their way, they would have all of us on all these social programs just getting free stuff.
Now, Dianne Feinstein, several years ago, made the comment, if the American people are bitching because of 45% of your income, 45% of your income is going to taxes in one shape, form, or another, okay? What do you think they're going to do when we get it up to 95%? Okay, now the question is, are we going to let these bastards do that? Are we going to sit back and let them tax us to 95% so they can pay for all the free shit that they're giving all these illegals that come in here? Okay, now I'm getting too old to try and fight this alone, and someday, it's going to come to head. Maybe Virginia will bring it. Maybe that'll be the pimple that starts the thing. But I'm sorry, this is not a vape. This is not a vape. This is a pipe that was brought to me from Uganda. My granddaughter was in Uganda for like 2 or 3 months, and she brought me home this pipe.
Is that made out of rhinoceros wiener?
Either that or petrified rhinoceros shit.
There you go.
So, I found what's going on here. Just a second. I'm going to get rid of this bastard. Yes. There we go. Got rid of it. Now. Yeah, Feinstein ain't, that's Weinstein, and nothing fine about her. Yeah, I agree with you there. In fact, she hasn't been heard from for a while. And I see they try to get Ginsburg back out. And
Seems to be cancer free.
yeah, just looking at her looks like a cancer cell.
She is cancer.
How we can talk about our government officials, you know, the Supreme Court, I mean, you know, the supreme law enforcement of the land. I know what the founding fathers wanted when they set up the Supreme Court, but the only problem is when you get different parties in, they stack the court. So it takes a few years for the next party to get in to unstack it and stack it in with theirs. So
It just seems so silly.
instead of it being based on their constitutional knowledge, okay? There's only one document that they need to refer to when it comes to, it don't matter how many other court cases are been proven, doesn't matter how many lower courts decisions have been done and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to the Supreme Court, this book, the Constitution of the United States, this little pamphlet, is all they need to know. Okay? If it's not here, they can't do it.
This whole judicial activism thing is getting to be
Yeah.
too much.
And I will tell you something else. I got called for jury duty, and I had a pocket Constitution in my pocket, and they wouldn't pick me for a jury. They didn't want me, because I knew the Constitution, and I knew the rules, and I knew about jury nullification, which means the jury has more power than the Supreme Court, by the way.
Oh yeah?
Yes. You need to get the pocket Constitution, and it'll tell you in there the way it works.
I have the Russian Constitution.
No, we don't want that one. We want U.S.
But that one's better. Because
Yeah, that one's better because they have the answer for anything, a bullet to the head.
Well,
Okay, you commit a crime, or we're going to send you to slave labor camp, put you down in the salt
my
mines.
Uncle Putin sent it over.
Well,
He's
I'm still waiting for the suitcase nukes that we paid for.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Son of a bitches!
Yeah, where are they, Putin? Are you one of them guys that say all hot air and don't deliver?
That dude's just straight up old school Soviet crazy.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's all they need to know. They don't need. I forget which one of a couple of our judges have made the statement that we now need to look at international law when we're judging these court challenges under the Constitution through the
That's
Supreme Court.
absurd.
Right. That's not what you're there for. You're not to do international law. That is a whole bunch of other people's business. Yours is right here, the Constitution. And if it ain't there, you can't do it.
Yep.
Okay? And so, I know, I speak this stuff all the time. People look at me as if I'm crazy, but that's okay. I like being crazy because it keeps all the insane people away from me that are crazier than I am because they're afraid of me. And you follow where I'm going with that, Scott?
I don't know anything. I'm scared of you.
You scared of me, huh?
I just every year I'm wondering if this is the year that they're going to try to nullify the Constitution and write something even more farther progressive and
Well, they have a move on to call a constitutional convention. And unfortunately, at this time in our history, the representatives who would be going to these different to this convention would not necessarily be those that believe in what we got. Be those who want to come in and change every fucking thing.
yeah, that's what
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that word, but it's true. They want to change everything. They want to change us from a constitutional limited republic to Zeke Heil,
Democratic Socialist.
Republic of the Soviet Unions. Even though they say that the Soviet Union is dead. Yeah, maybe the Soviet Union is, but Russia isn't, and the communist is not dead over there. You still have China, you still have South Korea, you still have Vietnam. And we have, right here in our own country, you have Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, California, Caters, and now Virginia, and now you see the stuff from Virginia is trying to spread here into Pennsylvania. And so the cancer is spreading. It's a question of when we're going to take the knife and cut it out. So anyway, there's one way you can do it. If you don't want to see bloodshed, then what you do is the next election and every election thereafter, do not vote for an incumbent. Do not vote for an incumbent. Okay?
Yes, people have been doing this shit for 35
I'm
40 years.
talking about Congress, because the
Yeah, that's what I
president,
mean.
yeah, the president has a 2-year term limit, so he can only be there for 8 years. Okay, and I'm not saying that because Trump is my man as far as goes right now, but we have seen in 8 years what a communist can do to this country vis-a-vis our last president, and you can see what some of the communist sympathizers. I can't see what I'm trying to say. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. How they have slowly marched us to this from George Bush 1, the Clintonistas, Bush 2, Abomination. If you follow everything and you watch, you can see where each one of them has brought us a little step closer. With Obama was supposed to be the one. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Obama? Did I say Obama? I didn't mean to say Obama. But since I said Obama, I guess we'll just let it go be Obama. Anyhow, he was the one who was supposed to bring the finalization of the communist takeover of this country. And almost worked. He just ran out of time. And the reason he ran out of time because there was a lot of patriots out there working behind the scenes to try and stop it. People like us, Mark Hornkey, Alex Bozo Jones, and a lot of ones that have passed away because of health reasons, or were assassinated, like Leroy Vinicus.
Who?
Vinicus. Up there in, he was going to a talk, a meeting, a conference or whatever about the
standoff?
yeah, the standoff up there in
Right now,
Oregon.
I'd forgotten the guy's name.
Yeah. Well, he pulled out a 9mm. He had no use for 9mm. He had no use for semi-automatics. He carried a .45 long Colt revolver.
He was like old school cowboy.
That's right. And that's what he carried. So, but they shot him and they said he had a 9mm hidden on him. You know, well, if there's no witnesses other than your people, you can say anything you want. Remember, survivors or the winners are the ones who write
The story.
the history book. Okay. So anyhow, where were we? giving a little bit of history, asking a few questions. All right. That was the White House on the, there we go, back to the wall. He finally got okay to go ahead with what he has already been promising, but it just shows you how he has promised to do stuff and has made steps to do stuff, but it's been blocked every step of the way to prevent him from carrying out his campaign promises. Okay? So if things did not work out the way you thought Trump should have under his promises, you got to remember, he can only propose it. It all has to go for congressional approval, and if those people don't sit on their, or if they sit on their ass, wasting 3 months on impeachment, and then come up with a document that has no charges, just innuendos, no charges, and then after they do that, waste those 3 months, they waste another 3 weeks before they deliver the papers. Okay? And they still haven't delivered, but I understand. I got a story. Just happen to have a story where Pelosi is going to take and deliver the impeachment papers to the Senate. Okay? Some of the stuff that I heard as to why she hadn't done it was, well, I want to know what the form is and how this is going to be done. It's none of your business. You're the Speaker of the House. This is the Senate. You did it your way, and you fucked up. They're going to do it their way and probably kill it. Okay?
I just hope that they're thorough.
Yeah.
So everybody that hates Trump can't say, well, see, it was rigged from the get-go.
Yeah, the thing of it is, if you're going to scrutinize the man for everything he does, making a phone call, talking to a ally, if you want to call it your opinion, it's an ally, okay? We are helping them fight the Russians, yes. If you want to trace, you want to blame what he was talking about on him, you got to remember where it originated from. Under the abomination, Vice President who?
Biden.
Vice President Biden called the Ukrainian Justice Department and asked them Obama asked them to stop the investigation of Biden for his dealings with Boriska. Okay? They already knew there was something wrong. The funding was set, but it wasn't delivered, and Trump, his call was more like, from what I can see and what I'm understanding by listening from this other stuff, his call was more like, what have you guys decided to do about Biden? Okay? And how am I going to be able to release the money to you? It's not saying, hey, investigate Biden or I'm not going to release the money to you. The money was already appropriated. It just wasn't being released because the fix was in to stop the investigation by Obama.
It slays me. I saw just today, or it was yesterday, former Secretary of State
Bolton?
John Kerry.
Oh, Kerry, yeah.
Came out and he made a comment. We had 8 years of a presidency under Obama with no scandals. Well, it's because the press was so busy licking Obama's boots, they didn't do any investigating. There was all that shady shit with Hillary Clinton. Oh no, 30-some thousand emails gone.
Mm-hmm.
Their BlackBerry device is smashed. Well, no, that's all perfectly good and fine because they wanted it that way. To me, the reason there was no scandals is because they never looked for one. That's all I have to say about that.
Oh, okay. I gotta make a comment. Remember when Trump was, in one of his campaign speeches, was telling people, help me drain the swamp or I'll drain the swamp when I get in? It's now up to us to help Trump drain the swamp. And in order to do that, you need to buy more ammo, magazines, and guns.
I I don't like the bugs, so I don't know.
And that, so, anyhow, let's do this because we're starting to run short of time.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
No, that's fine. You can jump in and make comments anytime, because remember, that's the way this show works. We're rude, crude, and lewd, sometimes. This is off of WorldNet Daily. Pelosi to send articles of impeachment to Senate next week. House Speaker, I'm not going to read the whole thing, I'm just going to highlight. Well, maybe I will read it, it's a short one. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat from Californicators, at a news conference January 17th, after a day of more than 3 weeks pressing for a fair trial, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced Friday she will take steps next week to send impeachment papers to the Senate. Take steps. What do you got to do? Put it in an envelope and send it by special courier across the hallway? Or why don't you just walk it over to the Speaker of the Senate and hand it to him? Anyway, I've asked the Justice Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler to prepare to bring to the floor next week a resolution to appoint managers and transmit articles of impeachment to the Senate. I will be consulting with you at our Tuesday House Democratic Caucus meeting on how we proceed further. California Democratic candidate wrote in her letter to colleagues. This week as she continued to try to extract favorable terms from the Senate trial, Pelosi was under pressure from several Democratic senators to move ahead. In other words, she was trying to fix the Senate so that they would come out in favor of what they were doing here. And so the fix is trying to be put through, folks. And even, I tell you the truth, if the Senate should fall for this shit, come November, we can re-vote him back in. Did you know that? Okay. Among them was Senator Dianne Feinstein. God, I just thought, all of a sudden she pops out of the crack. Who told Politico the longer it goes on, the less urgent it becomes. Well, it's never been urgent in the first place. So if it's serious and urgent, send them over. If it isn't, don't send them over, she said. But Pelosi insisted in her memo Friday that the delay was justified, declaring new information on the Ukraine controversy at the center of the two impeachment articles has emerged. Yeah, you mean you found out that the abomination had stopped the investigation in the first place? Yeah, see, I'm very proud of the courage and patriotism exhibited by our House Democratic Caucus as we support and defend the Constitution, she wrote. You don't even understand what the Constitution says. In an impeachment trial, every senator takes an oath to do impartial justice according to a Constitution and law, she wrote. Every senator now faces a choice to be loyal to the president or to the Constitution. No one is above the law, not even the president. Well, not even you, senators or House of Representatives. Pelosi has pressed Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to disclose the resolution that would set the terms for the trial, including calling of witnesses. McConnell, however, made it clear that the Constitution gives the House no authority in such matters, and he charged Thursday that Pelosi was playing irresponsible games. McConnell has said the Senate resolution governing the impeachment trial will be similar to the one used for Bill Clinton in the trial of 1999 after setting the time frame for the trial. It would allow the Senate to determine how to handle possible witnesses' testimony and documentary evidence after both sides have made their opening statements. Most resolutions can pass with a simple majority of 51 votes, while the removal of office requires 67. A supermajority, as they call it. So, anyway, there you are. Pelosi was trying to hold out to tell the House or the Senate how to do their guidelines for their impeachment process, where they have no authority whatsoever. And like I said, I hadn't heard from Feinstein, so all of a sudden she appears her ugly head. So, okay. Some of this stuff about is going back to comments being about the 80% receivers here in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if when you turn your phone off. One says here, do the right thing, and they'll screen for peanut butter registration and waiting periods for sprinklers. For non-sprinklers.
It's for the children.
Yeah, it's for the children. And I got so tired of hearing that. Over the years, it's for the children. And I had a discussion with a couple of people at the gun show that we were talking about how the educational system is failing in this country. And the more money they throw at it, the further behind the kids in our country get compared to the rest of the world. We used to be number 1 and 2. We are now down around 27th in ranking. Well, how did we get there? Well, we threw all this money at technological advances, or whatever you want to call it, and the teachers don't teach. You take the right of discipline out of the school so that you can't discipline a kid. Not that you can make them learn, but you can't have disruptive children interfering with those that want to learn, because there are kids that want to learn. And we were talking about all these different programs they put in. I said, yeah. I said, there's a lot of programs that are being taught that don't need to be there. There's a lot of subjects that the state decided that they would fund, but they would only fund it for 4 or 5 years, and after that you had to, if you accepted it to start with, which most school boards did because they were looking at the money. After the 5-year period or whatever time period was set on the funding, you had to pay for itself. Okay, well, we've got a lot of programs out there that are useless. We can't discipline our kids. We teach them a lot of nonsense. We can't enforce religious training or beliefs or freedom of religion in school. You got kids that graduate that don't know what their gender is, are gender confused. We got kids that can't read, they can't write, they can't do mathematics. But we pound them with all this money and buy them computers, and they're not learning because the computer is doing all the work for them. Okay? They're not being able to develop the brain power here.
At one time, I had this discussion with some of my college classmates. They were pissed that they had to take all the Edinburgh called it the core stuff. The different mathematics, different science. Well, I'm going to school. I'm going to school to be a race car driver. Why don't they just teach me how to be a race car driver? Mm-hmm. I tried to explain to them, is like, a lot of this other stuff, in addition to broadening your horizons, it's teaching your brain how to think. And that's what these computers, as great as they are, don't get me wrong, I play with one far too much.
So why?
But it's when you're not teaching the kids how to be reasoned. Here's another case in point. Your son, what did he graduate college with? A degree in mathematics.
Yeah.
He could not help his grade school child with her math homework because he didn't understand it. and Common Core shit. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's not what he was taught when he went to school. They've changed the whole system.
He went to college for mathematics, and he didn't understand what they were teaching. That has to say something right there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, what happens is your development years are when you learn how to use your brain, even though you're not thinking about it and don't know you're doing that. The development years are the years you go to school. Okay, that's when you develop your brain powers. Okay, if you haven't developed it by the time you graduate from high school, you're going to be a dummy the rest of your life. Okay. Sometimes I see what's going on, and I think I'd be better off if I was a dummy, because then I wouldn't have to understand what's going on. But since I do, but I'm from the old school. We were not allowed calculators. We had to do our math on paper. We had to turn our homework in with math on paper.
Show your work.
Show your work, okay? We had to we had spelling bees. We had to learn how to spell. Well, we can't do that because if Johnny misspells a word in front of his classmates, it might lower his self-esteem. The psychiatrists have started that shit. Same way with math bees. We used to stand up and do our timetables. Well, you can't do that because if little Johnny or Sally gets up there and misses one of her numbers, it might lower her self-esteem. Okay?
And then
The
you
computer
go to
does
gym
everything,
class
so they
and learn
can't think.
square dancing.
Okay? And they don't know how to square dance because they don't know the right or left foot.
If that's gender specific or
Yeah.
some shit. I don't
Yeah,
know.
okay? So anyhow, I believe that kids should be exposed to a computer because everything is on that, but not until he's in 12th grade. Give them 11 years of education without all the bullshit to understand how to do things without the computer, so that when he does it on the computer, he knows if the computer is right or if the computer is telling him a bunch of bullshit. Okay? Because the computer is only as good as the person that pumped the information into it. So, anyway, well, it's 1 minute to 8. You got any final thoughts?
Two things. Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself, and the average of veteran suicides is still 22 a day. Look out for your brother.
I passed out a couple of the keychains yesterday.
I'll get more.
One of them was to a young man, but he was partially blind, or else he had a very small field of view. Okay, and he was looking at it, and he was holding it up there real close like that, and his dad asked me what that is, and he says, "No, I'm not quite sure what it is." And his dad said, "Well, that's a dog tag with the Veterans Crisis Hotline on it." And I said, "Well, if you don't mind, he can take it. He can have it." Okay? And he was happy. The kid was actually happy. Okay? It may mean nothing to him, but the fact that somebody, and do a good deed. Mother and I stopped at Miller's Food Factory out there at 322 this morning, and for breakfast before going on down to the gun show. And while we were there, it appeared the lady had a stroke, because she was with her husband eating, and next thing you know, she was slumped over a table like this, and her husband was talking to her. So we were watching. She didn't go unconscious as far as I can tell, because I was across the room, but was watching. And the waitress called 911. They sent the police, and the ambulance came. And the ambulance took the wife and the husband, left, and the waitress made a comment, "Well, they forgot to pay the check." And I told Kathy, I said, if I'd have brought more money with me, because I deliberately, when I do a gun show, I deliberately leave money behind so I don't take it and have a tendency to spend it where I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay?
Understood.
I said, if I had more money, I'd just go over and pay the bill for him. And I didn't think about it. Well, out in the car, I had change money. I could have, if 5 miles down the road it came to me. I could have given him the money out of the, paid for it out of the money box. So just by chance, at the show today, the owner of the restaurant came by the gun show. And I was talking to him about it, and I feel bad because I says, I don't think the husband mentally was out
He sort of had other things.
but he hasn't, yeah. And I says, and I told my wife if I had brought more money, I'd pay the bill for him. And I says to him, got down the road about 3 miles, and I said, well, I could have got the money out of the money box, but I couldn't turn around because time factor. So he says, thank you for the offer. Because I told him, I says, if they don't come back and pay it, send me the bill and I'll pay it. Okay? He says, don't worry about it. He says, we'll just write it off. Things like that, we just write off. Okay? And I said, okay. And then I says, now, I'm not criticizing, but a point that you might want to instruct your waitresses. And when somebody has a problem like that, ask the people on the tables next to them to move. Or if the table is empty and somebody comes in to sit down, ask them to move so that the ambulance crew has room to work with their stretcher and paraphernalia. And he says, they should know that, but he says, thank you for telling me. He says, I will make sure it gets there. I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you, do a good deed. That seems comes from my old Boy Scout days. Even when I was a kid and when I was a Scoutmaster.
Yep.
And so.
Do good deed daily.
Okay, guys, I'm going to call it quits until next week. I'll see if I can figure out how to get Mike's music on there, and we'll go from there. Thank you all for tuning in.
See y'all later.
See y'all later. Dashboard, close. That, close.